Welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this is the Victor Zoning Board of Appeals. Today is December 5th, 2022. You haven't figured it out already. The exits, emergency exits are on the sides, out in the back. Restrooms are in the vestibule area. There is an attendance sheet right at the back table, if you would be so kind as to sign it. There are business cards back there with business cards. Also, at the back table, there are copies of the proposed resolutions for your review. Please turn off your cell phones or silence them. If you have any conversations, please take them out into the lobby so as not to disturb the meeting itself. As far as the meeting, what we have done, and it works pretty well, is if you have exhibits, we'll certainly take a look at them. We have our packet. We hard copies of them. If you are referring to an exhibit that we already have, please let us know which one you're talking about, whether it be by page number, and if you are talking about a photograph and want to tell us something, do your very best to describe what it is that you're talking about, as opposed to, if you see over here and over there, that's very hard to figure it out on the transcripts. Compass directions help, structures help. Just do your very best, and we'll get through it. Also, we're going to do our best, and more so for Amber here, is not to talk over each other. So let's make sure that if one person is talking, wait for them to be finished, and the board will do the same. If I see that it's starting to occur that we're talking over each other, I'm going to stop and get people to slow down a little bit so that we can create a good record. All right? Next, we have the November, oh, I forgot, Sarah's not here. Sarah is necessarily absent. Next is the approval of the November 7th, 2022 minutes. If everyone has had a chance to review them, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion for approval of the minutes.
Donna,
I'll second.
Fred, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. All right. First is the Hook application, 7988 County Road 41. You can do it after. Just come on up. There's no sign-in police.
We go here.
Yeah, please. and
My
let
first
us-
time, he came without me, so
Yeah, tell us who you are.
I'm Julie Hook, so I am the owner of 7988 County Road 41, Kevin's wife, who was kind enough to come when I was out of town. And I guess is the follow-up to the first one. I did send poor Amber a ton of photos, so I'm going to do my best to describe them. So do I start with what I think, or do you guys want to?
Well, what we can do is just for a quick review,
Okay.
because we have a large agenda, so we're just going to, I'm going to kind of encapsulate it a little bit. And if there's pieces that you want to add on to, by all means. You would like to put a 20 by 20 shed in, this would be forward of your home. It's a flag lot. There are some neighbors who are opposed to it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. There was a Ontario County referral. Did you have a chance to review that and their comments?
No, do I have that? I don't think I.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, they're calling it Class 1 with some comments. So it's nothing as far as how the vote goes, because sometimes the county planning board will give us an advisory opinion, and we are forced then to give, if we want to pass the variance, it has to be by supermajority, which is majority plus one. They didn't do it this time. They just put some comments, and we'll get to that when it's appropriate. Right? Nothing to be concerned about just yet. You also, let's see, I think there was a comment that your husband made last time that there is an option that you could put it in the backyard, but you really don't want it back there because of aesthetics.
There, no.
Okay, see, I figure with all the pictures, you want to comment and right the ship, if you will.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry. So, with that in mind, oh dear, why don't you go ahead and tell us what pictures you want us to look at and what they mean?
So did you get the aerial photo, Amber? I sent that late in the day. If
Black
not,
and
I
white
brought,
aerial?
I brought it.
Yes, I did.
We have that.
Okay, so what I would like to start with is the aerial photo, because I think that it does the best job of showing exactly how the lot is situated in the house, right? So it doesn't sit like what you might think a house would sit. So the house is sitting facing on the side, basically. So for all intents and purposes, as you can see, there is no backyard. And there's a well back there, too. And there was a picture of the back of the house that I sent that clearly showed the well. So what I did is I called my builder, because I just wanted to make sure I wasn't completely out of my mind, which I've been told before. And I said, is it just me? Am I being hard to get along with? I said, as far as I'm concerned, it looks like it would be impossible to put that size shed back there. And he said, heck no, in a different way. And I said, I thought so. I said, because we would be running over that well with a big pickup truck to access the shed, to get things in and out of the shed. It would eliminate access to our well if we had to service our well, so that's bad. And it would put it dangerously close to the house. So if there was a fire, the house would immediately go up as well with a gasoline-powered zero-turn, zero radius, whatever it's called, lawnmower, snow blower, and the gas cans that'll be in there. So there was also a picture where I took that went this way, and you could actually see what's called the backyard. Again, and for all intents and purposes, I don't think it's really a backyard, it's more like an alley.
All right, so remember I said, when you say this way, I don't know what you mean. There are some of the pictures that you have here, they're page numbers. So if you could tell us which page number that you're talking about when you mean by this way.
Well, I could show you on the aerial photo, right? So the photo that I took of the backyard going vertically like this would be, I took it from this garage pole barn back.
Right, see, what I'm asking you is, you sent us a picture of the backyard.
Yes.
Which picture is it?
I don't know, because I didn't write down the page numbers. I can show you.
All right, so I'll tell you what, there's a number of pictures that I have,
Yes.
and if you want to tell me which one that you're referring to, then we can put it on the record.
There. That's the backyard. There.
I'm going to ask you, go ahead, tell me the pictures that you want me to look at, and then I would like you to go back to the microphone so that we can hear you on the recording. Okay?
I
Sounds
think
good.
they tell this story. Basso.
You pulled out there are 3 pictures on page 3 and 3 pictures on page
The
4.
last picture, so the bottom on each one are the ones I'm going to refer to.
Okay.
Because I think they're pertinent to what's going on and the opposition to where we want to put the shed. And 12 by 20, I don't think that's the accurate, isn't it 10 by 12?
If I misspoke, I thought it was 20 by 20, is that what you want?
No, it's not 20, you said 20 by 20, it's not 20 by 20. Our old shed at our old house was 20 by 20, and it's not that large. So it's 12 by 20,
12 by 20.
yes. And it's not a pole barn, I understand it was referred to in an earlier meeting as a pole barn, and it's a beautiful wood shed. So it's not made of metal.
Okay.
So that bottom picture where you see from the actual pole barn that was on the property when we bought it,
On page 3, that's what you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yep.
Okay,
so you could, that's looking straight back.
the bottom picture on page 3.
Yep, that's all we have for a backyard. That's it. And there's a propane tank, and there's a well. And then there's a drop-off and a town easement. So that's why it's really impossible to put one in the backyard. And then the bottom picture that I sent on the other page, I went to my neighbors. I almost went in his yard. I didn't go in his yard, but I went as far as I could to take a picture so that you could see what you could see from the neighbor's house. And you will not be, you can't even see the swing set, which is right behind where the shed would be.
You want me to look at page 4,
The bottom picture, yep.
bottom picture?
Yep.
Got it, okay.
So you can see, you can't see anything. You can't even see our driveway. So it was said that our shed was going to be put on the highest part of our property in a prior meeting, and that is not the case. The house and the garage that currently stand there are by far on the highest part of the property. And then I made notes on this aerial one if anybody wants to look at it. On this one, I just made notes where the shed would be if you wanted to see it on the aerial photo.
All right, is this your copy?
You can keep that copy, that's fine.
So what I'd like to do then is this is a color photograph
Yep,
with black ink on it that
Yes.
you have made notes. On the back, I'm going to put exhibit A and date it 12/5/2022. Right, for us to look at, and that's going to be part of our file.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So, one of the things that, I just want to cover a few things. We did not cause the hardship, we did not situate the house and everything the way it is. That was, we bought it that way. Even though it was a new build, it was already built, we didn't build it to spec. We bought the house from Log and Timber Builders the way that it sits, so we didn't purposely set it on the property that way. The shed is not going to negatively impact the characteristics of our neighborhood, because when you pull out of the driveway on Tobacco Hill, when you turn right, immediately that first house and property, there are, and I have pictures of all the neighboring properties, but you turn right, the house is there, their pole barn sits in front of the rear line of their house. When you look across the street, both of those properties, a log home, theirs sits in front, and the guy next to his sits in front. And when you turn left, the immediate house on the left, it's the same thing. So it wouldn't, I don't think that's called, it wouldn't negatively affect it, when it actually is probably going to go along with exactly what all those four neighbors have. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that. We talked about the driving over the well, we talked about the conservation easement behind the grassy area behind the house, and then the steep incline. Is there anything that I have left out that I could give you information to help us get our shed?
Okay, so how this will work is, once you're done, the board is going to ask some questions.
Okay.
You'll have an opportunity to respond, and then we're going to ask the public if they want to make comments. And if you would like to address the questions or concerns you ask us, please refrain from getting into discussions with neighbors, whatnot. And in the end, you'll have pretty much your last chance then to say, here's what I have, this is what other pieces, and you're going to get an opportunity to respond to all the concerns. Okay? So with that, Donna, questions, comments, concerns?
From what I'm understanding on this paper, the circle, the shed is going to be in front of that circle?
It'll be,
Going to
do you
the
mind if I
driveway?
just show you where it is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the circle, and then the shed's going to be right.
On that side,
Yeah.
okay. I don't have any questions other than that.
Matt?
Let's see. You know, to be honest, I didn't really think, you know, my opinion's the same as last time. I don't think this is that big of a deal, and I rarely say that. The character of the neighborhood, there isn't, you know, there aren't houses in a row. Your home is forward of the front line of other homes in the neighborhood. There are two homes forward of the front line of others. So I think that as long as the shed, to your point, is aesthetically pleasing from your perspective, that I'm okay with the site. I can understand there's probably places you could put it closer to the home. You've got the well and the septic that you've got to deal with, and you obviously want to put it convenient to where you'd have access to the property as well as that driveway, that K-turn portion. So I'm okay with it, in that generally this particular code, we are a little more stringent when it's a neighborhood and a development where, again, everything is kind of lined up in a row, and that was really the intent of it. So really no further questions from my side.
Fred, comments, concerns, questions?
As you approach the property, that's very strongly influencing the view that you see, because it's the first thing you notice, and it's very prominent up on the hill. Even if the house is higher, it's back so much further. So you'd probably have more complaints if you had more neighbors, so it's good you don't in that regard. You ought to be able to do, with this great big lot, you ought to be able to do what you want to do. Certainly not interfering with anybody else's property. So to remove my main objection is put the shed, it'd be nice if the 12-foot dimension faced the road, but it probably doesn't. The 20-foot is probably what you see. If you planted trees around it, try to hide it. Sounds impossible, but you could try. I think it's all right.
May I respond?
Huh?
Go ahead.
What we were going to do is, we were going to plant vegetable gardens in that area, so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have it there. But we're not opposed to planting shrubs or something around it if it would help our case. I would have to defer to my husband to see if we could, so you're saying face the door portion, so it would be facing,
It reduces the visual impact, and that's what the main problem is.
right. Well, we could do that, couldn't we? We could just get more gravel. I just got to have more gravel delivered, so.
If you could do that and try to bring it down to the ground level the way it's commonly done, I think it's fine.
We can do that. That's easy. Thank you.
Okay, so,
I'm sorry, but I'm okay either way. I know Fred's got an opinion, but yeah, I'm okay either way.
all right, so to the county planning board, their comments were that in their estimation, it was about 270 feet off of the common driveway. So let's talk about that in a minute. There are there's a vacant lot next to, you know who the Kolbs are?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the common driveway that leads to the Kolb property, which is 7980. There's a vacant lot to the west, 7984. There's another driveway there. There's your driveway at 7988. And then there's the last driveway, 7992. So that there's a common driveway that runs parallel to County Road 41.
Yes.
What the county planning board is referring to was that the location of the proposed shed would be about 270 feet from the common driveway and another 40 feet from the right-of-way. So sum that up, there's quite a distance from where the right-of-way is to where you'd like to place the shed. However, they made a comment that it's open. You still can see the shed from County Road 41. So your comment about there are other structures forward of the homes, what we don't know at this point is whether those pre-existed the current code. So if those structures were constructed in compliance with the code years and years ago, it's called a pre-existing condition, non-conforming pre-existing condition. You want to place a shed and you need to comply with the current code. So on the element of it's not, if will, the hardship. It's not self-imposed, but you want to put the shed there, so you are creating the hardship on yourself. It's not necessarily fatal. But with all those elements, what they were concerned about is, it's a Class 1, take a look at the comments. They want the board to take a look at the comments. And to Fred's point is, when we talk about buffering, it's not only for what it looks like to the road, but it's also around your neighborhood. What are your neighbors going to look at? Have some neighbors that made some comments. Did you see those emails of concerns? So some of what they were saying is, like, you're going to hurt the value of my property. You have swing sets, you have a chicken coop, you have all this stuff in your front yard that makes it look, from their eyes, undesirable. And why can't it go in the backyard? Well, I think you've addressed those points to say, it doesn't look like it. Hold on. You'll have a chance, all right? I'm just putting some things on the record. So what we're trying to do here, all of us, is to create that record so that however the decision goes, anybody takes a look at it, can look at the minutes and say, oh, I see how they got that decision, all right? So I understand that from the lay of the land, and the only concern that I have is when you say that you can't put it in the backyard, but yet I can see a sizable trampoline back there. And a 12 by 20 shed, I didn't go back there and measure it. You're telling me that that can't go back there? Go ahead.
Yes,
I'd
my
like to hear
son
it.
put the trampoline back there for his kids. Our son and his 2 kids live with us. He put it back there. It has to be moved because it's literally on top of my bedroom window. And I already told him that. So that's a very temporary situation because I said, that's got to go because that doesn't really fit there either because it's literally right next to the house. So it's not an ideal situation. And that, the thing is though, is I'm worried about that because I need to move it in front.
I can't hear you.
I need to move it in front of the house, and I'm afraid to move it because of all these comments about things in front of the house.
I think however this board rules, a suggestion, it's not a mandate. Do yourself a favor, listen to some of your neighbors' comments. Doesn't mean you have to do everything that they say, but as my dad used to tell me, play nice in the sandbox. You're going to go a lot farther, okay, on that piece. So do you have any comments that you'd like to let us know before I ask the public if they have any comments they want to talk to us about?
No, well, I do. I would love to have a conversation with my neighbor, but he really hasn't given me the opportunity because when we moved in, he didn't even come and introduce himself as the new people. So I would love to be a good neighbor. So yes, I'm very open to that.
You'll get another chance, so. Anything else you want to add? You will. You'll have another chance. Let's ask that the public has anything to say for or against this application. Anyone? Anyone? No. Okay.
It
So,
was one neighbor.
yeah, we had 2 neighbors, both in writing. I think it was Mr. Hefner was here last time,
Yeah.
and we had some correspondence. And I thought I summed it up well enough. But I think there was a follow-up letter that he pointed out or wanted us to be aware of. There's a chicken coop structure or structures in the front. There's a playground, soccer net, fire pit with chairs, farm stand. Well, to some degree that impacts this, but a fire pit, chair, it's really not a structure that doesn't, it's your property. You can certainly choose to do with what you will. So if you want to comment, address those concerns that both of your neighbors have talked about. Mr. Kolb, the last email he had said was the vacant lot, that with all the activity that's going on in your front yard, it's going to diminish the value of his property. The vacant lot, whenever he decides, or they decide to sell it, as well as the neighboring property. So his point is it's going to negatively impact the character of the neighborhood.
I guess my only response to that would be having things like a swing set and a soccer net for your children, which people have in neighborhoods all the time, even in their front yard. It seems odd to me that there's a concern that we are actually deciding to live in our house and on our property. instead of just sit in our house and do nothing, so.
All right, and if I didn't, I do want to point out, and I think it was talked about last time, your aerial photograph also circles that the location of the proposed shed is at or about the turnaround.
Correct.
So
It's
there's some purpose to why you would like it there.
Yes, because I feel it would be most easily accessible with a pickup truck and everything if we just had it on the outside of that turnaround without it being in the turnaround, because that's a fire code thing. That turnaround has to be there in case emergency vehicles need to access property.
Okay, great. Have any thoughts for us, Adam? You're looking at the photograph.
No, I just didn't know if the chicken coop was on this photograph. I was just looking for other code items.
I believe there is a chicken coop out there. Is there
There
not?
is a chicken coop.
All right. Adam, how does the code address the chicken coop?
Chicken coops, horses, anything like that, stabling, which is a chicken coop, and stockpiling of manure, which you're obviously not going to have with a chicken, needs to be 100 feet from any property line, just so you're aware.
Okay, thank you. I did not know that.
Okay. It doesn't require a permit. It's not considered a structure, but because it's livestock, that's a town code requirement, okay?
And I think it is, but we will confirm that. Okay.
All right, thank you, Adam. Donna, anything else you want to? You're good, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good. And Fred brought up some suggestions, whether the applicant, agreed to it or not. I'm just trying to figure out what do we want to make it into the actual resolution? The board?
Right. Because of you don't, as far as I know, when we had asked that it was supposed to be staked out, and I didn't see it staked out. So that does cause some concern that where you're suggesting it's, or where you'd like it to go, what we'd like to do is and it sounds like this board is inclined to grant the variance, is being able to pinpoint where it's going to go. So can you give us any other, go ahead.
So you can see the gravel area that's right, the pictures that I sent myself, not the aerial photo. There's a gravel, we already put it there, that's the exact size of the shed. And if you want, I can come up and show you those. And the reason we didn't is, I apologize, but we were called out of town because my mother was on vacation and decided to have a major heart attack in Atlanta, so I just got home, so.
Hope she's feeling better. Said there's a photograph here that depicts where you'd like to put the shed?
Yeah, so this is the gravel area right in front of the chicken coop. That gravel area is not the turnaround. This gravel area,
All right,
I don't know
so
if that's helpful.
what you're showing me is photograph 1. It's an email you sent to Amber dated December 2nd,
Yep.
and it's page number 1.
And I can show you on the aerial photo. On the aerial photo, this is the turnaround. This is the gravel that you're looking at.
Okay, so if I understand you right, it's going to go to, I
Yes,
gotta look at a compass
that's
direction.
exactly right, though, where you point.
There was a survey map. I'm going to pull it up. I thought you just drew it on the survey map. Is that where it is in yellow?
Yes.
He did that, yep.
All right, on the survey map, let's find the survey map.
But because I'm terrible at looking at better for me to show you.
It's better for us if we
Okay.
use something. Go ahead, just if you would. I'm going to find the survey map and make sure we have this. If I understand you and your husband, more so your husband correctly, it's the survey map that we have that's highlighted in yellow. That's the location.
That's where the shed? That is correct. Okay.
And can we agree then, if the variance is granted, it's going to go plus or minus a foot in either direction? Is that enough room?
Oh, yeah,
North, south, east, or west, but
yes. And the reason why we know that is we did, believe it or not, we did stake it out to have the gravel delivered, and we spread the gravel and all that stuff in anticipation. So, yes, we can, 1,000,000%.
very good. And as far as the buffering goes, I'm going to rely on the county planning board comments, the distance from County Road 41, the right-of-way being approximately 270 feet. It's not going to be required, but it is that. Do yourself a favor, do the best you can to guard it from your neighbors, as well as County Road 41. As far as the direction of it, maybe we should talk about that. The 12-foot section, base as close as possible, County Road 41. I think Fred's suggestion. Do you have any thoughts on that, Matt, to make that a condition or not?
I'd go either way. I'd prefer to not be a condition. Again, maybe it's just a pet peeve of mine, but we allow people to put these nice structures there, but then we tell them they've got to encircle them with arborvitaes or something. And so, you know, we don't try to hide houses from view of the road. I don't think this is going to be an eyesore. I think do your best to make it look how you want it to look. I don't want to get into the, you know, aesthetic business. But I'm okay with the condition that says, you know, ample landscaping around it maybe. But I don't really want to force them to hide it. I mean, it's far enough away, and it's not an eyesore. So that's my 2 cents.
Donna, how do you feel
I
on
don't
that?
have a problem with the way they're putting it, 12 foot, 20 feet from that far away from the road, really. Doesn't make that big of a difference, and they've already got the stone down, so it would be more cost to change all that stone around.
Okay. All right, then let's walk through the criteria. First criteria being an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting the area variance. Justification being the county planning board comments that approximately, the location of the proposed shed is approximately 270 feet from the common driveway and another 40 feet from the right-of-way of County Road 41. The county planning board returned it as a Class 1, returned just with the comments as I had just summarized. Other factors are the backyard is tight. They had a consultation with the builder, and it's the builder's opinion that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to put a 12 by 20 shed in the backyard. There's also a drain pipe issue that will create problems by putting the shed behind the house. There's also septic systems that is in front of the house, so proposed location of shed is going to be at or about the turnaround, indicated by the survey map. Would anyone like to add anything else to the, you know what, let's add in there, although we don't know if their variances were required for other structures, it does appear that in the neighborhood there are accessory structures forward of the homes. Would anyone like to add anything else to the first criteria?
Was there any for or against?
Yeah, we
Public?
talked about that. Want to go over it again? There were two neighbors that,
Well, I meant here on Suzie.
oh, sorry, Susie. No, good? All right. Second, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. One factor we had talked about with the first criteria, that the backyard is narrow and the lot is a flag lot, so it's a challenge to place a 12 by 20 shed and be in compliance with the code. Anyone like to add anything else to the second criteria? Third, the requested area variance is substantial. Given that the shed is forward by a significant amount to the primary residence, makes it substantial. Would anyone like to add anything to the third criteria? Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. I haven't seen or heard anything that the proposed location would create any kind of physical or environmental conditions to the neighborhood or district. Fifth, the alleged difficulty is self-created. They are, albeit it is a flag lot, that the request that they have, having it forward of the main structure, is self-created. As far as any conditions, I think we've heard enough from the board that, given that the distance from the common driveway and the right-of-way from County Road 41, it's going to be up to the applicant to decide whether or not they want to buffer it or however they want to place it. It's in their decision on where to put it. All right, would anyone like to add anything else to the criteria or conditions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
A motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Good luck. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your patience with me and not knowing really what I was doing, so.
Just fine.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
We're avoiding those neighbors.
Moment. You have this, right? All right, second is Rob Crunston, 7263 State Route 96, for an interpretation. It is you, isn't it? It is. Come on up.
Hi,
You have some questions. You would like an interpretation on the code.
yes. I'm looking to start a jewelry coin exchange. Basically just, strictly doing jewelry, coins, bullion, antiques, collectibles, purchasing. The time would be Monday through Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm not interested in opening a pawn shop, so no gift cards, electronics, or tools. Strictly just, like I mentioned, the owner and friend of Webster Jewelry and Coin Exchange and Penfield Golden Coin is going to guide me in opening and running the business from his 20-plus years of experience. His name is Frank. He has no instances of robberies or theft. And so the idea would be he would help me to run things. He's not a partner. because I'm not a direct competition to him and because he's a friend of the family, he's willing to do that, no expense. So, and I have years of experience in the coin industry and selling rare and unique coins and buying bullion, and so this is something that I know, a fair amount about, probably second to martial arts anyways. And I guess I'm just finding out if it's okay to, if it's zoned to do something like that. Pretty much it.
Okay. So, how the interpretation works, looking at the code, there are certain kinds of businesses that are permitted, and you have to look at what region, if you will, that it's in. So what we're looking at is complying with the commercial district. And the way the code reads is that a gold jewelry exchange is not specifically listed. However, in town code, that a special use could allow you to conduct that kind of business if the board can find, the planning board can find that there's a like business in the town or in the section of where you want to conduct that business.
Okay.
Do you have a chance to look at that at all, or?
I didn't receive, that I know of, did I receive anything that?
So, looking at the permitted businesses, if we're looking at section 211-22A, what the board, as far as to try and interpret it and whether or not it would be permitted, is it needs to fit into one of those or a slot of such. For example, a auto repair shop is a permitted business. Well, that would be an apple and orange. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. So as I'm going down the list, I see that potentially looking at section 211-22, A, subsection 7, subsection 1 and 2, it talks about shopping centers and stores and shops for conducting a seasonal or year-round retail business, excluding uses specifically regulated or prohibited elsewhere in the chapter.
Okay.
As I looked through the code, I didn't see anything anywhere regarding whether or not a gold and jewelry exchange is prohibited. I didn't see anything about a pawn shop being prohibited. In fact, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even think pawn shop is defined in the code. So unless we can find something in this laundry list of permissible businesses, we would be inclined then, I think, to say, at least I would, I'd like to hear what the board members say, is, well, it doesn't appear that it's prohibited. If it makes any sense, we have to do it backwards in the negative. Okay, we would have to find something that is like your business that says, no, you can't do that here.
Okay.
Right? So, again, maybe for a different example, you can't have, the code doesn't allow you to run an auto repair shop in a residential district. Hopefully that should make a glaring clarity of, no, that doesn't
Sure.
work. But other places you can. Right? So, with that, any comments or questions before I?
Would it fit under jewelry? Because I know there's two in the town here, or two in the, here in the village, and then there's one, I think,
So, go ahead.
there's one that's on, or it used to be at least, before you get to the garden center on the right.
So, the one in the village is the village.
Is the village, it has nothing to do with, yeah, okay.
So as far as the one where it was before, that may have been a pre-existing condition, but we still need to find and apply the current code. And
Got it.
my read on it, and I will certainly pass the code book around if they need to, is what we would need to find is that your kind of business is how you describe it, would be prohibited in the light industrial district,
Okay,
right?
got it.
Questions, concerns?
I agree with Mike. I don't think it's permitted. I think it probably falls between retail and a bank is allowed as well. There's probably a few instances here, things like that. Is the secondary question whether has to be permitted as a special use or is it just permitted? We have to figure out if it falls within A or B.
What he's looking for is, the zoning board does not have the authority to grant a special use permit. That's for the planning board to do. All the question is, from the zoning board standpoint, is our interpretation of, is his proposed business prohibited in the code?
Okay, my answer is not prohibited, in my opinion. And they'll determine whether it's permitted or special use.
As I understand it, he's going to need, if he wants to go forward, is go for a special use permit.
We're just
Is that-
saying whether it's permitted.
Is that, if we said it was fell in the permitted section, I don't think he would need a special use permit.
Correct. It's only if you guys make the interpretation that it's prohibited, then he would need to seek a special use permit.
But who would determine if it are only the things that are special use permits listed there specifically, a dog kennel, a gas station? Those are only the things that need a special use permit, and if we determine that it's not prohibited, then it doesn't need a permit.
Correct.
So to clarify, what we would need to do, if we don't find that it's prohibited, we're going to need to put it into one of these slots, into one of these, or the categories of permissible uses.
Or special use permitted uses.
No, if
No?
we say it's permitted.
So that list of special use permits
Finite.
is a finite. So that's saying if you want to do these things in this district, you have to have a special use. If you guys make the interpretation that this is essentially a retail business, then you're saying it is a permitted use.
Okay.
But because it wasn't clearly stated and it's a little different than just a straight up retail, business, I suggested that an interpretation would be needed.
Okay, do I have one question for the applicant? Do I have a second?
Yeah, go ahead, go.
What are you doing with signage? Are you gonna be back in front of us wanting a gold neon sign?
No.
By the road.
I put in when I started this, I put in an application to take the old King Jen massage and just put the same size sign up there. That
For the
says,
code, this is no variance, okay. All right.
so no, I'm not gonna get anything weird.
Donna?
I don't see anything that it's not permitted. Fine under the retail.
Fred?
I thought it was permitted. Across the street, there was one that came and went recently. That was well after the code changed. And there's a variety of businesses there. That doesn't seem to be out of hand. Call it a retail business, I guess.
Well, that's just it. What we need to do is fill it into one of the slots. If I hear you right, Fred, it would go into subsection 7, retail commercial uses, either and/or shopping centers or stores and shops for conducting a seasonal or year-round retail business. Want to see the code? Section 7.
To me, the closest thing is 9, that it's closest
Is
to
a
a bank.
store, a retail store is permitted, clearly.
Well, it says I think that subsection 2 specifically says for conducting a seasonal, or year-round, sorry.
Yeah, all around,
Yep.
year-round retail business.
Agree. I'm back to 2.
Better give it back to
read
me
two more
before I
words.
fall asleep with that in my hand.
You good with this, Don, and you want to say it?
I'm good with it. No, I'm good with it.
All right.
I'm a little confused. Is it going in an existing building?
Yes. It was previously a massage place, so we're just doing a move-in, no work necessary. It's already set up for what we would need.
In where your other business is?
Yeah.
In that building there?
Yep, same building.
Does it face 96?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Public, for, or against? All right, so let's do this.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rob, I just had a question. You did call and inquire about a neon sign. You decided against that, correct?
Correct. I sent you one email that I didn't hear back from you about whether box signs are considered neon signs or not.
Are you talking about like a backlit
They're
three-dimensional
like,
sign?
they hang from chains and they're in, and it's, black letters, and then just the part that, what you wanted to say is there's lights behind it.
I see. I'd have to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sent you an email, but I'll resend it again, because
Okay.
I'm sure you got a million of them.
Thanks, Rob.
Sure.
All right, so let's walk through this then. If you have anything else you want to add? We're going to walk through then the resolution. Whereas an interpretation request was received by Rob Crunchen by the Secretary of Zoning Board of Appeals on October 27th, 2022, appealing the determination by Victor Code Enforcement Officer Adam, I'm going to butcher your name, I'm sorry, Ryzek, sorry, to inquire if he can run a coin and gold exchange on the parcel 7263 State Route 96, with the findings that as collectively the Zoning Board of Appeals has reviewed section 211-22 and have determined that the proposed business doesn't appear to be prohibited, and that we find that it falls under the category of Section A, subsection 7A, 1 and/or 2, so shopping centers and/or stores and shops for conducting a seasonal or year-round retail business, excluding uses specifically regulated or prohibited elsewhere in this chapter. Would anyone like to add anything else to the findings? None. I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Fred,
I'll second it.
Donna, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Can I ask Adam a question, or I can just, I'll call you in the morning.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
South Sports, 71 Victor Heights Parkway.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lance Toth. We have a scoreboard digital signed business in Victor, over on Victor Heights Parkway. There are 3 or 4 times of the year that we have more things coming in that we can get out the door. Sometimes the seasons, the weather can slow us down. I took some pictures. We would like to extend our building. Lefroy built it. They're a quality builder. They did the one just across the street from us, I think, 2 years ago, and we would like to do the same thing. Just to get the crates, some of them have to stay out of the weather. Some of them are outdoor boards or message centers, but a lot of them are indoor boards, basketball, things like that can't get wet. So we'd like to just add on the building, Basically, take over the driveway that's over there, turn that into a building, and have a overhead door so that we can get these out of the elements when they pull in. Correct.
Okay, so you're aware that this has to go to the county planning board for their comments?
So,
Is that how that works?
yeah, so the only reason that I was told to maybe come here is that to see if you would even consider the variance before we went through getting blueprints drawn up and estimates and things like that.
I can't tell you what to do, what not to do.
Okay.
I can suggest to you that the more information this board has, better chance we have to understanding it is what you want.
Okay,
Better we understand it, we then can apply the criteria, as you've heard before. We're going to walk through those 5 criteria, and we're not here to guess at it.
okay,
If you provide us information, the more the better, photographs, whatnot. If you find that showing us those, whether it be schematics, drawings, is going to give us a better idea, a better picture, that's great. But for now, we can't do anything until the county planning board gives us their comments about what your project is all about.
so what more would they need besides that?
What they're going to, we're going to want to know, they
Okay.
may want to know, I don't know what they're thinking. We're going to want to know why you can't comply with the code. So if you want to put an addition on, why can't you go to the east of the building or to the south of the building instead of needing a variance going to the west? Make sense with it? The
Understood.
way I asked the question? Okay.
Yep.
You can answer it now, you can answer it later, the next time when's our next meeting?
Our next meeting is January 17th, and then the county meeting is December 7th, so this Wednesday. And we'll get comments back, and I'll send them to you once received.
Okay, so for my understanding, I just want to make sure I get you what you need. Besides that, we can't go to the east of the building because the offices are up front, and going that way is just parking lot right now. So we thought we would extend the building. It's relatively inexpensive aesthetically. It's not facing Victor Heights Parkway.
So it would help us at the next meeting if you can provide us the information, whether it be from your builder, architect, engineer, whoever it is, that it's, lack of a better term, cost prohibitive to put the addition to the east or
Okay.
to the south, that it makes the most sense. That's the analysis really
Okay.
what we're looking at, instead of, gee, it's easier if we just go over there. Well, easy is a relative term.
Understood.
Right, to make some sense
Sure.
on giving us that kind of information.
Okay.
Jim, you had a,
County Planning Board workshop meetings next Tuesday, the county planning board meetings next
excellent, thanks. So our meeting, the zoning board meeting is going to be the 17th, and we'll have those comments by then. All right.
Okay.
Right, hold on.
Okay.
What they're going to do, they're going to look at our analysis too, and that'll help them. So before we go any further, Donna, do you have any questions, concerns?
You said the 17th was our next meeting. We don't have another meeting.
January.
Oh, okay.
January.
I'm sorry.
Questions you have?
No, no.
Concerns?
sorry.
Matt?
Actually, maybe one for the code enforcement officer. Usually when we run into this situation, there's also a following, that there's a sprinkler system that needs to be extended into it. Is there anything else that you see, or maybe the applicant's already thought about that in your costs, you've already taken that into consideration? Okay.
Right.
Would there be a reason why, what if it was more of are you just looking for a roof over your head, or you're looking for it to also be, air conditioned, heated? So you really need the entire building versus maybe an awning or some type of just structure to keep things out of the elements?
We considered an awning. The problem is that west side of the building is where the wind and the snow comes from.
Okay.
And again, we need to keep them dry. So we had thought about maybe just over the top and then down 2 sides, but Lefroy said it wasn't necessary to heat it if we didn't want to. He did recommend insulating it so the inside wouldn't sweat.
What other options do you have? Is this,
I don't think we have any other options because of the roof line of the building. That's the only way we can go. We can't go back into the side that's facing Victor Heights Parkway. It's lower, and we need upper area, because we need to sometimes get these things and lift them up in the air with a forklift we have.
So will it have like a garage door type on it? So you'll be able to just back a truck up into it?
Yeah, can I show you a picture that you haven't seen yet? Excuse me for talking.
It would have a door just like that?
Yes. Again, just like the one across the street that, I forgot the name of the meat company. But anyways, yes, just one more garage door, totally enclosed. Again, the goal is to get those crates out of the elements. That picture shows them sitting outside. A lot of those we got delivered in the couple of days after that. Fortunately, it didn't snow or get rained on, so.
Have you looked at other buildings within the area, even within the same lot? Have you considered that as well?
We don't want to lose or move out of Victor. We won't. I'm not saying that out of whatever. I haven't started looking to see
I
if we
mean,
can find
even
a-
within Victor, or even within, are there other, commercial areas where you've identified? Or I'm just trying to understand
Yeah,
what other options you have and you've explored, and if it doesn't work for you, tell me.
If this doesn't work, we will still look in Victor. Canning Parkway, some of the areas over there have bigger buildings. They're built more for trucks coming in, things like that. We like that neighborhood. We like our neighbors, DeFelice and all those folks. The chiropractor across the street, they're all friends, so I'd like to stay there if we could.
Okay. Are you the owner of the building?
Yes.
Okay. There's no landlord. In terms of, look at code enforcement again. In terms of fire safety and those kinds of things, getting around the building, if that were there, would there be any concerns? Or obviously the other side's wide open. I can't put myself in their shoes, so I just want to make sure what other things may come up that he can help answer over the next month that he's going to be waiting.
With the proximity of the entrance drive and the side drive there, I don't see the distances. There's no reason a truck would have to get that close, right up behind the building.
I'm okay.
We hang on to this?
Yes, there's another one too, if you would.
These are the same pictures, right?
Same picture.
I'm just going to mark this. Exhibit A, 12/5/22, so this is going to go on our file. Fred, questions, concerns?
You do have some room to the east, but the internal floor plan just doesn't allow for putting your addition on that end.
Is the east
Be the
the
right hand.
right side of the building?
Yeah, there's already a big door there.
If you look at that picture, the building for the warehouse is high, then it drops down, and the
Yeah.
office out front
Yeah.
is relatively low. We need the ceiling height to do what we're trying to do. We
That's
can't,
the high side.
it's the low side, I
In that
believe,
picture
sir.
to the left. You're looking at,
Where
Fred?
the garage door is, that's on the east side of the building.
Yeah,
The garage door is where we want to go there.
isn't that?
That's not the east, I don't think.
That's the west.
That's the west.
Garage door's right
Sorry,
here.
sorry, that's
Oh,
right.
it
It's
is?
the west. This is where the large garage door is the
It's
west.
to the west.
Right,
Oh.
the short side is where you were looking at, home in the property.
Right.
And behind us is a hill, goes straight up, so we can't go behind us. So is your recommendation, I could get in touch with Lefroy, ask them about their suggestions as far as structure-wise building, what they recommend, and any drawbacks to going any other direction for the building, right? Is that,
You say they, who's they?
Will Lefroy, the contractor that I would use to build it.
Or the
Okay.
question for the contractor, builder, engine, whoever you're using, is take a look at the code, you have side setbacks, you're asking for a variance, and the analysis is, can you put the addition on that property without the need of a variance?
Okay.
So if you understand that, then it's a simple way of putting it is, can it go anywhere else on that property and comply with the code? Just because it can comply with the code, I think you have, if I understand your argument right, you need the garage door that big for loading and unloading.
We do.
So I think it's going to help us in the analysis on, let's just check that box, it was explored, and it can or cannot be done.
Okay. Yes. Appreciate it.
Go?
Yeah, we are.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
You are coming back on the 17th, right?
You don't need to make an appointment. We'll just see you back on the 17th. It is a Tuesday. Yep, January 17th. I'll email you.
Next is Engbrecht
Yes, sir.
for 7980.
Hi. Jeff Engelbrecht.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi. Well, basically, you guys should have the pictures of the garage. It's called the carriage house, and also a site plan showing where it is on the lot with setbacks and distances and all that kind of stuff. So I know we haven't been to the county yet, so we're coming back on the 17th, the same as Lance.
Right, so it's going to be the same drill.
Yeah.
You'll have another opportunity, but if you would like to give us that, whatever information you want to let us know, so we can if you chew on it a little bit and
Okay.
figure this out for the next time we,
If you guys have any questions, I'm basically here to answer them. The reason that the building is where it is because it has to be on the driveway, and the lot is a 2.2 acre lot with about a very small building pad. And you can see that on the site plan. So it pretty much can't be moved back because it'll fall over the hill. Yeah, there's a site plan there. And it would be put in an area that is currently for parking now, so it'd be basically gravel there. And it's in front of the building because of the Main Street, Fishers is the road that is the front supposedly. The house is actually sideways for view and all that kind of thing.
go ahead.
So as I'm looking at this, this is not just a three-car garage, this is a home above it?
Carriage house, so it would have a small apartment, possibility for it.
Allowed on the property for that?
No, so my comments, state that he would need one variance to have an accessory structure forward of the front line of the home, and then a second variance to allow a two-family detached, or to have a second single-family dwelling on the same lot.
Other questions?
I was going to ask, are you done?
So what if we okay one variance and not another for a carriage house above it, or another residence?
So it'd be
Other
a,
plan.
a garage with a loft then, basically, for storage then? If it wasn't allowed to be a, living area, then it would just be for storage.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, but my question is similar as what your intent was for the loft, for the residence.
For the apartment, one of my girls is on the autism spectrum, and it would be nice to have her out of the house, but I don't think she can go very far. So it would be nice to have her on the property, that we keep an eye on her. So this is my wife's idea, to have her close, but not too close, so.
You would be okay with it not being rented out or used as an Airbnb or,
Yeah, that would all be fine. I mean, we're actually not going to put any new utilities in. We're going to move them all from the house over to it.
okay, so that's gonna be my next question. So obviously it'll have, you're probably not on septic or,
We are on septic, and I would have to install a septic tank. I wouldn't have to put in a new field, because the field is down below. I just have to run a lead from the tank over to the lines going down. And I've talked to the engineers, and he said he just need to, check things out. But I realized there would have to be a statement saying that the existing septic system could handle it.
Adam, what's our definition of residence? Is it truly, if it's utilities and the whole thing versus if it was something that was,
So it becomes a dwelling unit once it has a sleeping room, a living area, a bathroom, and a kitchen. Once you have those 4 items, it becomes an entire dwelling.
all of which you'll want it to have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there any other options or any other places on the property that you would consider putting this that wasn't forward of the front, or?
Well, unfortunately, where and you can see I put in a few contour lines. That contour goes all the way around the property. To give you an idea, if you go where I have the garage shown, if you go 10 more feet to the back, or the west in this case, you drop 13 feet. So that hill goes down really quickly. So I can't push it back any further away, and I really can't bring it back past the front of the house because it falls away, it curves.
Large pond or something over there, it looks like.
There's a pond, yeah, and it's just very steep slopes and trees. Good spot for the deer.
I'm okay with questions.
Fred, questions?
No, this sounds pretty harmless.
Do you have a distance of how far it is forward?
Oh, from the building? The site plan,
I know you're asking for a variance, but.
Right.
Well, I think you've heard prior applicants. I'd like to know where it is. So how much,
if you look at the site plan and you look at the distance from the corner of the garage to Main Street Fishers, and then the corner of the proposed structure to Main Street Fishers, and subtract, you will get the variation there. I don't have it in my head, but it's about 35 feet, I think, or so, in front of the structure.
do you know if you have you know what a topo map is, or a topography map that shows elevations and,
I have all that, yes.
all right, so the next time you come, could you bring that? 'Cause I think that'll help us understand just what you're describing is if you try and move that garage where you'd like it to go, it really can't go anywhere else just because of the slope of the land,
Okay.
all right?
Amber, is that something that I should just send in, and then you guys can, spread it out? Okay.
Great.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
have it for now. We're going to wait for the county and
Super.
then come back. We'll probably have a few more questions for you and go from there.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Keystone Custom Decks. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm Nate Esch, and yeah, I'm just here for Keystone Custom Decks, an account of the structure that we already built at 1046 Waters Cove. It's just a little too close to the line, and so yeah, that's why we're here.
So it begs the question, how did that happen? If you had a building permit, you put it where it's supposed to go, you shouldn't need a variance. What happened?
Yeah, we could probably blame it on different people, but yeah, in the end, we put it in line with the current fence. And so I'm not gonna try to push the blame around. It's on us. We could have, I guess, double checked or whatever, and it wasn't done, whether it was on the pool guys that were there before us or, whoever. Yeah.
Is it fair to say that when you applied for the building permit, that you had it located in a place where you didn't need a variance? Going to comply with the code?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think so.
We know that, Adam? What I'm trying to find, if it's an error and as they were,
So it was proposed right at 15 feet from the edge of the property line. There's also a drainage easement that runs on that side of the property line. As the building process went on, we mentioned that it looked like it was not 15 feet, and they continued.
I never heard anything till after everything was built, so if that was said, it wasn't relayed to me or it got missed somewhere, so
Who do we say that to then? The homeowner?
So the site guys, basically, were the guys on site to relay the message, and then email was sent, but it was pretty late into the build at that point, saying, we need an instrument survey, we feel it's too close to the property line. We don't have the equipment to get an exact measurement from the property line. We can run a tape measure, but depending on the angle, we're not surveyors, so.
And you don't issue stop works or anything like that until?
No, and then, so the instrument survey then provided the distance at 10.46 or 54.
I mean, it was off by 5 feet. A couple pair of Nikes would have caught that versus an instrument survey, right? I'm just kind of looking at it like, right? Am I wrong? with
I
the
think
math?
the
It's
biggest thing
5
that
feet over,
happened,
right?
I think the biggest thing that happened was the plan was to bring the corner of the structure right in line with the fence, in order so that they didn't have to move the fence, and I guess it wasn't relayed that the fence was closer to the property line than what the structure is allowed to be, I guess.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I'm just trying to figure out what happened from the second after you sent an email and told the homeowner or your company that, hey, something's not right here. My guess it was, I don't know. I don't have any data or evidence whether it was a hurry up and finish the job and then go in front of the zoning board, or if it was, hey, we got a big deal here. But it doesn't sound like anyone really talked about it after you noticed it and sent it in. So I'm kind of looking at it like guys are over here trying to do their job, and it just sounded like it fell on deaf ears just based on what I've heard.
Yeah, I like I said, I wasn't there. I can't say if it was said or not said, or whether they forgot to relay it, or whether, I don't know that part.
Do we know who your email went to or the comms went to?
I believe it went to Nate.
Well, at that point, the project was finished, correct?
It was, I think it was almost at the very end.
Yeah.
I think it was as part of C of O inspection, so.
But when
It
you
was
first
meant-
saw it,
Yeah, it was probably,
there were posts in the ground.
right, and then they confirmed, the guy on site said, we measured, we put it there. He may not have known. Like I said, some lot lines, 5 feet is not that much when you're on a full-size lot. So it's hard to determine it and be exactly like, we're positive that you're not within the 15 feet.
Especially if you're just measuring to a mowed line that the neighbors agree is the land line, or,
Well, I know, but for a project like this, you'd still usually do a proper survey, and someone will get out there and measure it, I guess. Especially when the code enforcement officer is asking about it, right? Someone would, I get it, but when, it hits the fan for something like this, everyone goes back and looks, and it's like, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. But I mean, at the end of the day, off by 5 feet, and somebody noticed it and brought it up. I mean, if we're all here and it was all retrospect, and we went out and eyeballed it and thought it looked good, and it all went in, and then we measured it at the last minute, because we've seen that too, where we all kind of say we messed up. It's a little easier than 25%, 50% of the way into the project, it gets noticed, it gets brought up, and then nothing really happens, and then the C of O, I assume we gave him the C of O. Why did we do that?
We have the C of O?
I don't think we have.
No, I don't think.
No, okay. There's conversation between multiple code enforcement officers.
Sure.
I'd have to double check everything that we discussed, so.
It would be good to at least have the person in front of us who you communicated to and said, at this point in the project, it looks like you're over. I'd like to know from that person what they thought next.
I said a different way. When did you notify them of the problem? The contractor, whoever it was.
So the email went out after the C of O inspection, requesting an instrument survey, which isn't normally required.
Date. What I'm looking for is
I can
the
look into that.
time frame of when the contractor was notified and when was the project completed.
It sounds like that went out after the project was completed.
Correct.
But I thought you had said during the project, there was some form of communication.
Right, at
Do you have a
framing,
day, a
at
date?
framing, I had mentioned it to a guy on site, and he was gonna look into it, and they felt like they were there. I was only eyeballing it, so I was like, we're probably gonna want confirmation here.
When did you have that conversation with whatever contractor?
I would have to check. The inspections are all dated, so I couldn't recall off the top of my head.
When the project was completed?
End of October.
Do you have questions?
Have there been any complaints from neighbors?
No, I stopped and talked to the neighbor. I didn't get her to write a letter, but she wasn't opposed to it.
Well, this, looking for a 4.5-foot reduction, we see that. That's no big deal.
It may not be.
I mean,
What's
it's happened
concerning is you
before.
build this expensive structure, and to Matt's point, if it's shoot first and ask questions later, you're almost inviting the board to say, well, gee, what are we going to do? What are we going to say? Oh, you got to move the structure to comply with the code. It's one thing that if there is a human error and it really wasn't caught until final inspection, but if there's some notice going to a contractor and the contractor then just keeps going anyway and says, gee, I really didn't hear that. Let's just hurry up and finish the job. And can't move a mountain kind of theory, that gives, I think, one of the board members some concern.
So when that was noted to the foreman, should we went out and got a survey done right then and there? Or what's the, because
Really before you
from what
finish
it
the
sounds
project.
like, from what it sounds like, they both looked at it and checked it out and thought it was okay and continued moving on.
When you, in my experience, of all the situations I've been confronted with, more times than not, when the old school of sticking your thumb out and saying, that looks about right, that was done years and years ago, needs to be accurate, right? It's the measure twice, right? Cut once. You've heard that before, right? It's not what I'm hearing here, that at some point in time, code enforcement officer has a conversation to check your measurements. Is this right? And it then becomes incumbent upon the contractor to make sure, oh yeah, gee, maybe it's too close. We better make sure it's right and not just keep pressing forward. Yeah, it's close enough. We'll be fine. And what are they going to do to us? There's just too many questions here to try and figure it out on where's the problem? Why did it happen?
Yeah, I apologize. For us, it was, we do big buildings, but for the most part, this was our first pool project away from the house. Most of our projects are attached to the house, or porches. So yeah, this, part of this process is a little bit newer to us, and so yeah, we're just learning the hard way.
All right, is there any reason why, as far as the C of O goes, if it's May, in January, the pool's closed, right? No
Right.
one's swimming in the pool.
Right.
So to get the facts straight, I think it's going to go a long way as far as when did the contractor receive notice that there was a potential problem, and when was the project completed? And my concern is going to be the bigger span of time that is, the bigger the problem that it is. That just sounds like to me that it just kept going forward, and we'll worry about that later. And it would help too, I think at the next meeting, if you could bring the neighbors, if they are for or against it, not verbal, in writing.
Yeah.
I, John Doe, residing at such and such an address, right, oppose. That comes into play when it's as far as the character of the neighborhood, if it's going to be a detriment,
Right.
right?
May I ask, like, what does it do for us to understand what that time period was, or when they were told that, check into it? Like, what will that help us?
Variance is denied, then you have to figure out what to do next. And it could mean take it down and
But that'll determine on whether the variance is passed or no?
well, I'm not following the question.
Like, finding out when it was said that we need to look at, where the lines are at, and us finding that out will determine whether the variance gets accepted or not?
That's a factor, because another factor is going to be, is if you could have, and it sounds like you could have, constructed and built shed area, that whole structure, and complied with the code. Right, is that fair to say that you had plans to do that? Right?
Yeah, I mean, and also meet their fences on the property to the structure, because in order to make the structure code compliant, it has to have 4-foot fence around it, and part of the fence was already, or most of the fence was already there.
When we go, you've heard the criteria, right? When we look at, and one of the elements is, could the project have been completed without the need for a variance? Is it feasible? You're admitting that it could have, it should have. That was your plan originally.
Right.
So when, we just can't make up the rules as we go along. We have to plug in the facts to all their criteria, balance it out, and determine whether or not there's going to be a variance. I'm not suggesting that if the period of time between when the contractor, somebody, knew, and it was days, weeks, months, the longer the time, the more, if you will, egregious it gets, it may not be fatal. I'm just one person here. I think the rest of the board has to decide on that. But I think it's important to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, and is the board in agreement with that, is to get some more information on the details of when the town notified the contractor, when was the project completed, and getting some neighborhood feedback on whether or not the neighbors, especially, I don't know, that would be north and south, for that matter, the east as well, if there's any opposition to what's occurred.
Are you also the homeowner?
No.
So I'd also like to know when was the homeowner told there may be an issue? Right now, it sounds like everything was just discussed with the contractor.
There was just a review thing put into the sign, or put in their yard like a couple weeks ago.
No, I mean, when was the homeowner made aware that
Yes.
there's a potential issue with the?
I mean, that's when they would have been made aware of by the town. We had discussed with them before,
Made aware of what?
that it needed a variance.
Before that, when were they made aware that potentially their expensive deck is in the wrong spot? What? It sounds like the town said something to your company at some point. We'll get times. At some point, did your company then tell the homeowner, or is the homeowner going to get up here and go, we didn't know anything until we went to get our C of O, it's all on Keystone?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I'm not on the site during the building process. So, yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a suggestion. be great to either see the homeowner up here to ask him or her, or both of them some questions, or at least understand when the homeowner also knew about this.
So you built the building, but you're not on the site. You're the company that built the building.
Yeah, I mean,
You
it's,
have a crew, or you have someone that's in charge there?
we have multiple crews and each crew has a foreman.
Need a little bit of an alignment. Someone to be double checking. Crew, if you talk to your crew, did he tell someone? Whoever?
I don't remember that being discussed, no.
Anybody, as far as that crew, I would highly recommend that foreman who, what I don't want to hear is the he said, she said, and it's still.
Well, I agree.
Okay, so getting the answers directly, not from, well, such and such said this, and then it was relayed through you. Unless you have signed statements from people saying this is how it happened, and if they can't be here, I understand it.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was gonna come down to this, so, yeah. Like I said, I'm new to this process as well, so I'm learning here.
All right, so the next meeting is the 17th, right? Fred, you okay with that, to get some of these questions pinned down?
Right?
All right,
All right, thank you.
next month. Thanks for your time. Allentown,
Hello,
thanks for your
everyone.
patience.
No problem. All right, I am James Creticos. I'm with BME Associates. This is Fred Rinaldi. He is with 46 North Ave LLC this evening. What we are looking to do is to construct a monument sign for Valentine Plaza. We're going to be specific to Lot 3 of Valentine Plaza. So that Lot 3 is the Beer Project building. So it has the Beer Project, Spoke Cycle and Fitness, Tom's Pro Bike, and then one other space that has not been built out yet. So what we are looking to do is create a monument sign along the frontage of the plaza on Route 96. What we are proposing here, we provided some sign elevations, we provided a site plan identifying the location of the proposed sign here. East monument sign. Sign itself will be located on Lot 1, which is the Chase Bank parcel. So that is one of the variances that we are requesting, is to allow a monument sign be placed on an adjacent parcel. This is a plaza itself, though, so we kind of view, or the applicant views, the Chase and the Longhorn almost as out parcels. So although there isn't direct frontage for the Lot 3, which is the Beer Project and other users in that building on Route 96, we do feel that it is effectively needed to create good advertising along this 96 corridor. As you're coming northbound on Route 96 from the 490 exit, the thruway exit, by the time you get to where the Longhorn entrance is and come around the existing vegetation, there you really can't see the back building. Longhorn does a pretty good job at blocking that with all the building mounted signage. So we are looking to get a little bit more presence for those rear users of the back building on 96, so that at least as they're driving, they can see this is where I want to go, and then make the right onto High Street and still make it into the plaza. Along the Route 96 corridor, well, let me take a step back. Let me get to the different variances that we're asking for, because there's 5 for this. The first one is we want to ask to allow for multiple typeface fonts. Obviously, we're going to have the different users on there, so we want to be able to have those users use their typeface fonts specific to their business. This is pretty typical of a lot of other monument signs in the area, and I'll go through the list of the other ones on the 96 corridor in a second. The other one another variance we're looking for is to allow a specific business to be advertised there as opposed to just the plaza business. So in this case, we're going to be looking to ultimately identify the 4 businesses that'll be within the rear business or the rear building. We're asking for a variance in terms of the total sign size. The signage, the white portion here, made up of the 4 signs, is 72 square feet, where 20 feet is allowed. So again, it's a pretty big variance in terms of the size allowed, but we feel it's still in line with all the other existing signages through this whole corridor. The 4th variance is to allow a freestanding tenant identification sign. Again, typically those are supposed to be mounted to the building or the plaza itself. So that is one of the variances. And the last one is to allow it on a parcel that's not its own. As I mentioned, there are several other signages along the 96 corridor, going from south, north. Ones, you have the Victor Crossing, so the Walmart, Kmart, Kohl's Plaza, or the Walmart and Kohl's Plaza. You have across the street on the other side, right from Victor Crossing, the Hampton Inn Suites and McDonald's monument sign. There's several spaces there for future tenants that haven't been installed yet. Moving further north past our site, you get to the High Point Retail Monument sign. So that's right past the north face, and that before you make the right turn into High Street Extension. Continuing north, you have the Cobblestone Court Monument sign. Continuing further north, you have the Eastgate Square Monument sign, and then which is the Bed Bath & Beyond parcel. The other one you also have is there's one immediately across the street from this, which is a Stickley Furniture and a Lazy Boy smaller monument sign, which is a lot more in line with the size that we're looking to do. I do have pictures that I can pass out to the board. All these other existing signages. They're generally in line. North, as I just discussed. So that's really the intent of what we're looking to do here. We do understand we need to go to county planning next week and get their input before you guys can take an action. So we really just wanted to come here, present to you what we wanted to do, and get your input on that. We had some conversations with Ms. Kinsella on how to go about doing this, because obviously there's quite a few variances we need to do, and we basically just got to the point where she said, just do what you guys want to do, and then we'll work backwards to figure out which variances we need. We really wanted to keep the context of this and the scale and everything, concise. A lot of the other big plaza monument signs are, 20, 30 feet tall, identifying 10, 14 different businesses. So we're only looking to do the 4 on that rear parcel.
So strangely enough, just had this. All the signs that people want to say it's here and here and here and here and here. In a nutshell, there's one that was granted for a variance. The rest either was pre-existing or the planning board did it. And the next time around, we'll tell you which ones those are. We'll be prepared. We'll send it to you so you're prepared on that piece. Gary told us, it's got to go to the county planning board. I think the county planning board is tough on signs, right? The other part, you're asking for 5 variances. If memory serves, that parcel has needed variances. And Adam, if you can look into it, how many other variances are on that parcel and what are they? It concerns me that when one parcel is asking for variance upon variance upon variance upon variance, that it's not right. Right? It's too many asks for one parcel. It's that square peg in a round hole. Doesn't mean the board won't grant it or grant all of them or some of them. But just be prepared that that's a lot to ask for.
Sure, and I completely understand that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that we have a front parking setback variance on Lot 2, which is for some additional parking we constructed about 2 years ago with the build-out of the plaza. And then I don't believe we have a parking variance. That might be the only other.
Well, look, Adam will dig into it and look for it.
Mike, just to clarify, you want me to look for variances on what he's referring to as Lot 2, that parcel only, or for the whole plaza?
There's 3, right, there's,
For those 3 lots.
There's 3 parcels.
Longhorn, and then the rear plaza is Lot
right, the monument sign, though, is going to impact 3 of the 4 lots.
It will only be advertising for Lot 3. It will be located on Lot 1.
Is that one of the variances?
Lot
to-
1.
That is one of the ones we're requesting, is to put it on a premise that's not its own, that it's advertising the business for.
So you might be able to, yes, I'd like to know all the lots.
Okay.
Because right now, one owner owns all the lots. The difficulty that I see it's going to be created is if the owner decides to sell one of those lots off and the monument sign is on somebody else's property. That creates a potential conflict.
So I think there'd be, and I'm sure Fred will comment to me, two ways we could potentially adjust that. Obviously through some kind of easement documentation, which we would be happy to do. That would be the most simplest for us. The other alternative, which I'm only throwing out as a last resort, is we could actually potentially look to re-subdivide the property and create some kind of strip of land that would give Lot 3 direct frontage on that.
I'm not asking to stand in your ear, it's a potential issue that when there's lots divided up like that, and you know that, variances run with the land. So that variance that's going to be granted is potentially going to be for a lot that's not really for the monument site. Correct. They come back, go ahead. You have a-
Good evening. Fred Rinaldi, how you doing? It's been a little while since seeing everybody. Just a little history here, quick. When we purchased this parcel and all three lots, it was from Peter Carlson several years ago. There was a very complicated cross-programmed easement shared. I mean, we had to untangle, which actually caused many of the variances. Had I started from scratch, many of the variances that you'll find would not have existed. It was part because the prior owner assembled the parcel to sell off. I had to actually go out and buy the Longhorn from another person who he had just sold it from, because we don't sell often. We're legacy holders. So had I started from scratch, many of those variances would not have been in place. And we treat this, even though we've adopted this really bizarre assemblage, like all of our other properties, as one cohesive fourth phase of High Point's retail offerings, starting with the Starbucks and moving southeast. So we do have a unique kind of set of circumstances here that doesn't form fit to what you're used to seeing us do. So we're trying to just work the best we can within the code to accomplish the goal to benefit the tenants there.
The other piece the board likes to do some analysis on is why doesn't the signage on the building work? So just for an example, and I want to catch you guys flat-footed. Think about it so the next time you come back, there's some thoughtful answers. So an example might be Walmart. You can't see Walmart from 96, but you can see Longhorn, you can see Beer Project, you can see the Chase Bank. So if you're going to suggest that we need a monument sign because you can't see whatever retail or business that we're trying to see from 96, that's part of the analysis on why it is that you need more than what the code is allowing you to do.
Absolutely.
And we studied, I have a fiduciary responsibility to study that as the landlord manager of these properties. And I'm not just landlord at this campus, I also own a business. I'm tenant with my own campus. I own Yan Wave, which is part of the third phase, back behind Fleet Feet. So I'm a retail specialist. I study this and I enjoy it. And Rochester is one of the most unique and challenging environments to host retail, to be a retail landlord. And I'm happy to dive into a lot of the detail. In fact, I'd love to talk about it.
I have time. I know
Yep.
we're probably going to circle back again. I just want to give some pieces, some nuggets, chew on them a little bit, come back. The other piece is, why doesn't GPS work? And I know it looks like I'm old. I am older than probably you guys. And I use GPS, and I think the younger generation, they plug that thing in all the time, and they're really not looking at signage. They're just pushing the GPS button, and the car tells them right, left, go straight, and boom, you're there. So think
Right.
about that on why doesn't that work in this type of scenario?
The successful marketing is the sum total of all those activities. You make sure that you're geolocated properly. You make sure that you have proper trade dress. You make sure that the marketing and branding within a community is such that it's guiding and intuitive. This is one of the most challenging environments to accomplish that, especially on that intersection, because of the bifurcation of High Street and High Street Extension. If you were to ask our male lady who's amazing, and UPS and FedEx and DHL. It is the most confusing. Thank God they like us, and that we have a Starbucks there. Otherwise, I think we'd be in big trouble. But it is something that we deal with and will continue to deal with. And there's also a change moving through the retail operators within the 96 corridor. And if you look as recent as last Friday in the RBJ, a really scary statistic by which the mall was just appraised at less than a third of its value from just many years ago. Retail leases, the businesses can look profoundly successful by just purview into the window or packed parking lot. But unfortunately, it's not a one-for-one transfer or representation of what's going on behind there, or my required management to make sure that I'm promoting that success long-term. I want those tenants to be there forever, or as long as is practical. And so these tools are layers of storytelling that allow us to help them. A lot of times it would be easy for me to say, it is your discretion, is your responsibility. You have the right to go in front of the town of Victor and fight for these same rights. But I want to be a partner with them. I want to prove to them that I like being here for more than receiving a rent check. That's not what I'm about. I like being on my campus. You can see me there any day of the week. And so this is something that we felt is critically important for all the reasons, and we'll apply science and marketing strategy, and I can dive into the detail of having operated this plaza or this property now for 20 years. So it's been a fun, challenging process.
I'm sure we're going to spend more time next time around. But Matt, got questions?
Yeah, just a little bit what Mike was saying. From at least my perspective as a consumer, that's probably one of the most successful projects in terms of every time you go by it, whether there's a pandemic or not, it's packed. Like, people know New York Beer Project and the other businesses, and so I'm just trying to say, what problem are you trying to solve? And I get it. Every sign, every letter is an incremental, hopefully positive impact to marketing for those businesses, right? And we're obviously trying to balance that against, the aesthetics of the neighborhood, or where the town wants to really take the corridor and those kinds of things. But is there one really tough problem you're trying to solve? Because it just seems you've got an excellent project there, and
So the rest, so New York Beer Project has been an incredible success. They work very hard at building a footprint or a program that they can provide consistently and be excitable and show that they're always reinventing. The local lager is actually the top selling beer there still, which makes them so proud. We're also very proud that in Victor, unlike their Lockport location, we're 70% food. Where in Lockport, they're 70% alcohol. So our families are going there. I'm there. I watch the Bills with my child, my 6-year-old there, and in the tap room. The sequence and cadence of those busy times has changed dramatically since they opened, but I'm not so much worried about Beer Project because they have a form, scale, and purpose within hospitality, which is so important to our community. We like to eat. We like to enjoy being around other people in a certain way, and that footprint, that 14,000 square feet, allows for a really awesome social thing to happen. Spoke Cycle, not the same thing. The space in between Spoke and Tom's Pro Bike, I've lost such incredible tenants because I didn't have the visibility and trade dress application that they needed, that they demanded. In Tom's Pro Bike, same thing. They are in a category that is unique, that is special, that we want to be successful, and they need to have the ability to secure local, regional, and direct purpose, meaning if somebody's looking for a very specific product, to be able to find them with total ease. The shopper is a unique animal these days, and it is becoming more and more difficult, even with the most obvious tools, to make sure that we help support a consistent patronage. And I don't think the road's going to get any easier. Sure. So these little tools, believe it or not, seem, why? But they just the monument sign the two that we put up at the service phase 2 and phase 3. The difference has been night and day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. If
in
there's
the
a difference
feedback, the spa called me. They says we have customers thanking us now, and the spa's been there for 7 years, 8 years, And I finally have cool things going on in front of them. We've got, we have School of Rock opening up, the largest music academy for children in the country. Old Pueblo Girls opening up in a couple months. We have the oldest federal credit union wealth advisory from Pennsylvania opening up, 1865, next to the spa building. Really amazing things. It was, if you saw how quickly the reaction and gain was just from having those monument signs installed, it is plottable.
That kind of data helps.
And we will have that for you, for sure.
Another one was, have you thought about, if, obviously per the code, the code wants you to name the destination, right? And then have everybody, whether it's the mall or Eastview Mall, and not list everybody, but name the destination, and everybody from a marketing perspective would just say, hey, I'm in the, I don't know, I'm just gonna say the, Rinaldi Plaza, or Rinaldi, or Beer Project Plaza, whatever you wanted to name it as. Have you thought about that instead of literally going through and just listing all the businesses on a sign?
Well, ideally, it would look more similar to what we just installed at 2 and 3, where it actually says High Point and then the tenants.
Without the tenant, but so that one you had approval, must have
Right.
been by the planning board for, versus just having it be High Point.
The High Point brand, there's such a, and I spend, if we have the digital marketing director for Adidas, Sebastian Perez, that helps us. We have the most amazing branding companies that have wrapped their arms around our project, because we have the retail, we have the office, and then soon residential, breaking ground on the back 57 acres. The High Point brand doesn't transfer. We have the most sophisticated algorithms that we've built to connect the two, to be able to leverage High Point to push and create a marker to service the retailers, and we failed for so long. I mean, I've been working on this for 12 years with the same goal of marrying the two. I would love just to say, I'm very proud of it. Worked very hard to build High Point. It does not transfer.
Then my final one was, is there maybe a more strategic plan here where you can combine all those signs? There's the Chase sign, there's the Longhorn, there's this proposed one. Is there something you could do to make it one and maybe smaller, or to do something versus having 3? Maybe that's a concession.
So the rhythm, when I come back, I'm going to show you the aesthetic study that we did. It's actually a nice rhythm. When you drive up and down, it's far more appealing than trying to create or combine. We have versions where you're going to lose the sign, the size of the typeface or trade dress. It almost loses its impact. The chase is kind of it's an anomaly where we worked really hard to get rid of the old Uno's pylon and build something that was far more contextually appropriate to the area. So stone, and we dropped it as low as we possibly could to fit their smallest sign. So there's actually a built-up rhythm between the sizing of this, and this is a rendering. I'm actually going to bring a piece of the fieldstone in. It's so beautiful. So it's meant to actually cascade where this treatment here. So brick laid. It's actually a nice raw kind of organic stone lace. It's very similar to what we've been doing with the other stone signs. So this is cascades down. God bless you. It's actually a nice rhythm. But I'm going to show you the visual study we did, moving north and south, up and down 96 to end with something that we thought was not obtrusive, but was enough to cause and accomplish the goal. And the other thing is, these are garden restaurant that I have little to no control over. More Chase. So what I know I have the impact is the beauty applied to what we're asking you for tonight, and it's not, and it wasn't a forced design. This is actually something that we spent a lot of time thinking about, as we have every little detail throughout the project.
Okay. I'm done with questions.
Donna, questions?
No.
Fred?
Well, there's 4 or 5 variances.
5 variances.
Are they going to be taken up individually?
They may. It could be.
This so far tonight is just 1.
5. He went through 5 of them. It has to.
Right, but he introduced them. You don't see it in our pre,
And if you look at
During
his
that.
application, they go through each one. And I think when we go through again, we'll hone in on it. If we can bundle them together, fine, but we may have to take them one by one as far as the sign, the number of tenants.
separate them
Yeah,
out.
you gotta separate them.
I think that makes sense, obviously, there's different things that we're asking for, and, you know, we're just looking to,
It has happened that you may get the variance granted on 1 or 2 of them and not, let's say, 3, 4, and 5, or
sure, and yeah, I mean, we may have some options that we can adjust our design to fit in accordingly with, you know, what you guys are willing to grant us to, you know, achieve the goals.
questions?
No,
You had just a thought too, again, that you can answer it now or later. The bike, the bike shops that I know where they are, only because I've been in that area, but I understand that a smaller retail store may need some help, but yet Beer Project, that's a sizable building. Why would you need help, or why would Beer Project need help of a monument sign when it already can be found? What I'm driving at is, if you have 4 tenants that you're trying to work with, and I see New York Beer Project is one of them, maybe you only need 2 or 3. So granting of the variance, you know that, Jim, is you grant the minimum possible. So before you ask for 4, maybe 3 or 2, what do you really need here to make those smaller retail stores work, to get that notice that they need? Think about it, answer it later, answer it now if you want.
Sure, I think a lot of it too, if you get a chance and you're driving 96, especially northbound, pay attention as you're coming north, because there is this like low wetland area where the stream comes through, and especially in the summer, this is very heavily vegetated until you get right to where the parking lot begins. So once you have this view shed, especially if you're moving quickly, this building does block kind of the southern or eastern at Lot 3. You do see the Beer Project sign because it's pretty predominant up on the western end, but you really don't see a lot of the building signage easily without,
Anybody
doing
that's
a very
going,
90.
anybody that's going to Beer Project has that radar in their head. I know right where I'm going. I don't need a
Yep.
sign. They know right where that, kudos to you. It's a very unique looking building that doesn't blend in. It's aesthetically pleasing, but you know right where it is.
Sure.
Usually, but the bike shop, had I not been in that parking lot before or coming off a high street, I never would have known that bike shop was back there.
So this is, and this is something that I'll expand on
Okay.
at our next meeting, but, I've quite literally been presenting, before this was a beautiful town hall, prior to, I've been here for 20 years presenting to the 3 boards, to the town board, to the planning board, and to the zoning board. I'm going to be around, God willing, for a long time to come, and this is my legacy. This is my baby. My father started this, my uncle started this, but I'm the managing partner of our company. I have no illusion that Beer Project will maintain, because they already are not, the same success that they had in their first year and their second year going on to third. And I have a responsibility to apply equity to the way that I protect them. And I want Kevin Kelly, in that build out, there's 40,000 brick just in the interior. I mean, they were so in love with the building, they were so in love with space, and I mirrored every penny that they put in. I wrapped it with monumental block. We didn't veneer anything. All that stone around the side is stone. And we have these incredibly talented Bosnians that come in and help us lay these. There's so much pride of ownership in that space. I want them to be there with me for a long time. They don't own that building. Every new project that they've done, they own the building. They lease here. And Kevin is an accountant. I need to evade every opportunity that I can to maintain their interest in allowing me to be their champion there. In the town, to have a restaurant that's been around for 10 years and 20 years, A, it's an anomaly, but B, how awesome is that? I want that brick to age. I want that stone to age. I want that wood to age. I want to be going there and be in front of a board saying, listen, we're here, we're gonna breathe some life into that space, and here's a permit application for what this renovation is going to look like for its next phase.
All right, good. Everyone else good for now?
Good.
All right.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
See you in January?
Yep, see you on the 17th. Have a great holidays. Thank you guys for your
Happy
input.
holidays.
Stay well.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Cheers.
Anyone have anything else? You do.
Have you seen the schedule for next year? Has that been shared with you guys yet?
Probably not. I might have. I don't know.
Okay,
I can send it out.
okay. I know it's been printed, right? Yeah. So your schedule will remain the same as it was this year, with the exception of July, where they're only putting one meeting in July because of the 4th of July holiday. Obviously, what that means, though, for you guys is July meeting will be a long meeting, because that's obviously the time when people are doing a lot of projects, a lot of stuff going on or whatever, just to be aware of that. We haven't done our liaison stuff yet. We'll do that the first meeting in January. I imagine it'll be very similar to this year, but I don't know that yet. So you'll know in January who your new liaison is, I
Can we
guess.
start that meeting earlier? Can we do something like that?
Well, start thinking about it,
Starting it
depending on the
early.
size of the agenda, maybe that's a discussion point, you know? But the schedule right now, the way it looks, or the one that I saw, is you have the same 1 month, one meeting a month, except for the new one's July, and that's a change.
Okay.
So just, I want to make sure you guys are aware of it, because that's our busy season of building and construction.
Part of it's
and-
tough too, yeah, because if, well, like you'll see tonight, like when people have to go in front of the county, then I gotta wait a whole another month in
Yeah.
July, right? And so, I don't know, we could talk about it. Maybe there's a way to squeak another meeting in there.
In July?
I don't know.
Or would the town board be opposed if we move that meeting so it's a little more in the middle between June and August?
I think we're open for any suggestion you come to us. Unfortunately, we'll have to redo the schedule and stuff, but,
Let's have some homework. Let's look at the schedule.
yeah, calendar-wise, right.
On other boards, yeah.
Wait, there's other boards?
I know you think you're the only one, but I'm sorry to say you're not. All are equally important, though. How is that for a politically correct answer, huh? That's it. Thank you. Have a great Christmas, you guys. Good holiday.
Does the liaison have any information that we can share of our new board member?
I have none, no.
Okay,
I haven't heard that yet. Have you?
maybe.
Well, then maybe you should be the one sharing and not me.
I don't know if I'm permitted to say it, but
All
I
right,
think there's
then.
going to be some news at the town board meeting Monday,
Okay.
a week from today.
Well, that's probably when it'll be official, and then you can
Yes.
really spread the news.
So,
Tell whoever you want.
Well, Donna, good luck.
yes, and lastly, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and honor. You've done a great job. Best wishes in your future
I
endeavors.
learned a lot on here.
All right, job well done.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday.
You too. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that move. I'll
Thank you,
second it.
thank you. Very good.
If you need more.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
email you.
You know where I am.